Yeah. So today also we will do the questions. Is that fine? I'll concentrate more on completion of competitive part. As such, the PU part is easy. So we should start with definition of biotechnology from European Federation of Biotechnology. Then we have to see principles of biotechnology. I'm saying you the PU part. It has got genetic engineering, where you deliberately give a gene of interest to a host cell and will ask the host cell to express it. Then the second one says sterilized ambience, where we need to have everything sterilized in the entire process of genetic engineering, because you don't want any other cell to multiply apart from the target host cell. Then in the following paragraph, we have got the mention of asexual reproduction over sexual reproduction. When I give gene of interest to the host cell, I want the gene to be same in terms of its quality and expression for generations to come, because we multiply the host cell which is transformed to get multiple copies of the gene or the product. So asexual reproduction is considered in genetic engineering over sexual reproduction. So the entire population of the host cell, which you multiply after giving gene of interest, is definitely clone. Is definitely clone. Then we have the mention of gene transfer and oocyte. So into whatever DNA I give my gene of interest, that should replicate. If not, it is a dead end, as I don't get multiple copies of DNA to the daughter cells. Even if I multiply the cell which has my gene of interest, if the DNA of that cell don't replicate my gene of interest during cell division, then further generations will not see it. So we have a mention of oocyte. Then followed by that, we have who did it for the first time. So we come to across Herbert Boyer and Stanley Cohen, who have given the gene for antibiotic resistance into Salmonella typhimurium. The donor is E. coli. The donor is E. coli, and they successfully isolated the gene of interest from the Salmonella typhimurium. That means it got incorporated into the plasmid of Salmonella typhimurium. Correct? And then we have the mention of restriction enzymes. So if I want to give my gene of interest into the host DNA, then it is very important where we are cutting the DNA, so that it will accommodate the gene of interest. So molecular scissors or restriction enzymes. Then we have 3 steps of genetic engineering, like how I take the DNA from the source cell, how we make a recombinant DNA and give it to the host cell, clone the host cell. Then tools of the recombinant DNA technology, we start with restriction enzymes. Restriction enzymes are so called because they are isolated from bacteria, which would employ the enzymes as defense on viral DNA invaded bacteria for infection. And because these enzymes restrict growth of viruses, They are called as restriction enzymes. 900 restriction enzymes is the number in the textbook. And the naming convention of restriction enzyme, EcoR1. And even the EcoR1 is isolated from EcoRY13 strain. We have a question on that. I will say you. Genus followed by species followed by strain, if any, followed by order of discovery. HIND2 was the first restriction enzyme to be discovered. So many people ask me, ma'am, if it is the first one discovered, how it is it HIND2? No, whatever enzyme was discovered first, it happened to be HIND2 in order of discovery. That is the catch. And then we have the recognition site for EcoR1, that is GATTC. Then there is a picture in the textbook which shows how it is cut. And it produces complementary sticky overhanging ends because the cut induced in a Z form in a palindromic sequence. Once I get the cut induced, we use the same restriction enzyme in the source DNA to separate the same piece. Because the cut ends of the cut piece there and the ends of the DNA in the host are complementary to each other, the piece fits into the host DNA immediately. Once the host DNA takes your gene of interest, we call it as recombinant DNA or also call it as chimeric DNA. I told you this when I was teaching. Chimera is like we have two organisms together, correct? So here we have two genes of different sources which are bind into one type of DNA. Because you combine two things again, it is recombinant DNA. That technique is called as recombinant DNA technology. For this, I need restriction endonucleases, correct? Correct. And I need ligases. I need a vector, which can be a plasmid, or it can be a synthetic vector. It can be an Agrobacterium tumefaciens in case of plant cells, or retroviruses in case of animal cell, depending upon the context of the host cell, for what purpose we are giving the recombinant DNA. Correct? And then after that, you have got the picture of the recombinant DNA technology. Recombinant DNA technology, correct? Where we see that the same restriction endonuclease is added. You have a question on that picture. So when you read PU, you do read carefully. Then after that, when it happens to be recombined, second, need to get my, we have when endonucleases, types of nucleases, sorry, I forgot to say, exonucleases and endonucleases. If it cuts the DNA from the either the 5' end or 3' end, I call it as exonuclease because it is cutting from outside to inside. But if it randomly cuts at a given point, as it recognizes a sequence there, then I call it as endonucleases. So in recombinant DNA technology, we use endonucleases. Then after I employ endonuclease on DNA, naturally wherever is the recognition sequence, there and all it induces a cut. I take a knot of thread and I mark multiple red color, and I'll ask somebody to cut it wherever there is a red color marking. So if they cut it everywhere, I get multiple pieces, but still tangled. So when we employ restriction endonucleases on DNA, they tend to cut the DNA wherever there is a recognition site. So I get tangled cut DNA fragments. When we subject this to electrophoresis, we have good number of questions on electrophoresis, as I will do now. Electrophoresis. The electrophoresis is a separation technique which would separate the components based upon the charge on them. As we know, the charge is proportional to the size. DNA is a negatively charged molecule, so it would go to anode in the electrophoresis. Smaller ones reach the anode first because it is easy for them to move in the gel. Bigger ones will stay back. If any of the DNA is not digested, it will stay at the point where it is introduced. But the fragments will separate. After that, we need to stain it with ethidium bromide. And when I expose it to UV light, they start glowing. And we need to pick up that fragment of choice from the separated ones, which is called as elution. This is all about electrophoresis. Then the next important component. So if you see the tools, first one was restriction enzymes, correct? Then the second tool is vectors. Vectors. What is a vector? A DNA which carries your gene of interest into the host cell is vector. Usually we choose a vector which has a high copy number so that those many times the gene of interest also multiplies. So high copy number is what is important in that page when we start vectors. Then what are the characteristics of vectors? A vector should have a ORI site, at least after replication, this is very clear to you. And a vector should have the cloning sites. Cloning sites means the place where we introduce the gene of interest. That means depending upon what restriction endonucleases I am using, I should have preferably one site in the vector. If not, it gets complicated if it has multiple sites because the enzyme will cut here also, there also. But I want to introduce only one gene of interest. So for me, it becomes a problem if the vector has more than one recognition site for the restriction endonuclease I am using. This is not advisable, correct? Preferably one recognition site in one vector is great. I'll be sure that it will go and sit there. Then we have selectable marker. As it says, it marks the host cells which has to be selected. So I don't know whether the host cell took my gene of interest or not. So if something of the host cell will help me to understand which one is carrying gene of interest and which one is not, it will help me to separate the cells with which are carrying genes so that I will multiply them to get either the gene or the product. There is no point in multiplying a non-carrying cell. So the host cell which carries gene of interest is transformed. The one which does not is non-transformed. So a selectable marker will mark the transformed ones and help me to select the transformants from the non-transformants. Then what are the normal selectable markers? Usually we take resistance to antibiotics as selectable marker genes. It's all about DNA. Even the selectable marker has to be gene. So we have ampicillin, chloramphenicol, tetracycline, kanamycin. We can use these genes for antibiotic resistance as the selectable markers. Then textbook gives you PBR 322, wherein I explained what all are their recognition sites. There are two selectable markers, ampicillin resistance gene and tetracycline resistance gene. So depending upon into which gene we give our gene of interest, that gene will not function because it got interfered with something else. When that does not function, the transformed one will lose the resistance to the antibiotic. The non-transformants will grow in the other antibiotic because they have the resistance on, but into that gene to which we gave gene of interest, they doesn't grow, whereas non-transformants will grow in both. But this is a cumbersome procedure, and as we deal with microorganisms most of the time, it becomes difficult to observe point to point which one is growing in what medium. So we are then came more precise techniques. Rather than performing the resistance test to an antibiotic, let us choose a gene which will respond to the color changes, chromogenic selectable marker. So we usually use the gene for beta galactosidase in chromogenic selectable marker. We give our gene of interest into the gene for beta galactosidase. So if it is not transformed, it gives me blue color. If it is transformed, it gives me no blue color. So I want all of you to remember, as you have questions based on that. No color is transformation in case of chromogenic selectable marker. Blue color is non-transformants. In entire Petri dish which is blue in color, I particularly see the bacteria which are not blue in color. That means they are transformed. Scoop out and multiply them is the point. So whichever gene I give my gene of interest, that gets inactivated because it lost its functional stretch. The cistron is disturbed. So we call it as insertional inactivation. But this is all the story about the prokaryote. But most of the time, if I really want to manipulate a host cell, for me, plant cell and animal cell are advisable, isn't it? Isn't it? So how will we give a gene of interest to a eukaryotic cell? Because eukaryotic cell does have nuclear membrane and eukaryotic cell don't have plasmid. So we have two challenges. How will I give gene of interest to a eukaryotic cell? So we have to go through some organism which naturally gains an entrance to the DNA. I get an access to the DNA. So in case of plants, such natural vector we use is Agrobacterium tumefaciens. Correct? It has a plasmid which will have tDNA, which is called as transfer DNA, which will transfer it to the host plant cell. Then the host plant cell will start multiplying abnormally. This causes a cancerous growth in the plant called as crown gall tumor. All broad-leaved dicots, the Agrobacterium can induce a tumor. So the Agrobacterium is using its plasmid and introducing a part of plasmid into the plant cell DNA. So that's a better chance. If I can give my gene of interest into the plasmid fragment, which is introduced into the host DNA of this plant cell, then even my gene of interest will be incorporated into the host DNA. But we have to deactivate the genes for tumor development. Then I can use it as a vector. Okay. In animal cells, in similar case, we use retroviruses. We use retroviruses. We have questions on this. And then if it is a prokaryote, I will make a plasmid. I'll go through plasmid. If it does not have a plasmid, we will make a plasmid. If it is a plant eukaryotic cell, we may go with Agrobacterium tumefaciens. If it is an animal eukaryotic cell, we give retroviruses. But it's not always possible that every cell I want to give a gene will have any of these sources happening. Sometimes I may want to give a gene of interest even when there is no recognition site. So forcefully, I have to transform the host cell. I need to convince the host cell to get competent to pick up my gene of interest. So we have a topic called as competent host. So otherwise it is not. We make. Textbook speaks about treatment with a bivalent cation, magnesium or calcium. This will disturb the permeability of the plasma membrane. Then subject it to high temperature and low temperature. So you denaturate few proteins. You are keeping the plasma protein in confusion. Then we give our gene of interest, or we can shoot the gene of interest into the DNA, that is the gene gun or ballistic, or we can inject the gene of interest into the DNA of the host cell. This is called as microinjection. Apart from these mentioned in the textbook, we have electroporation in the manual, correct? Fine. Where we expose the plasma membrane to certain known amount of electricity or current, and we temporarily develop the poration in the plasma membrane or pores in the plasma membrane, transient, and we give the gene of interest through those pores. It is called as electroporation. Then we have polyethylene glycol. At least after tissue culture and somatic hybrids, we should have an idea about polyethylene glycol. So this is used to fuse the protoplast. So we can use this chemical method to give our gene of interest. So these are few others mentioned in the manual. Then in the processes of recombinant DNA technology. So what else are done during recombinant DNA making? So we speak about first the isolation of genetic material. So to take even my gene of interest, I should first take the DNA out of the source cell, not host cell, source cell. If I want gene for insulin, then I want DNA from the beta cell of pancreas. This is my point. So depending upon what cell I choose as the donor, plant or fungal cell or bacterial cell, we should use the respective enzymes to break down the barriers, lysozymes. If it is a plant cell, cellulase for this breakdown of cellulose cell wall. And if it is a fungi, chitinase to break down the chitinous cell wall. And then we have to use proteolytic enzymes, or we have to use the amylases, depends upon the composition. Then lyse the nuclear membrane, break down the histones, then I will get DNA. We need to break down all the barriers in between, then I will get DNA. So when I treat the DNA, we never use DNAs. If you use, even DNA gets digested. We shouldn't never do that. Then treat it with chilled ethanol. Chilled ethanol, when I treat it with chilled ethanol, it precipitates. The textbook really shows a good picture of how you spool the DNA after precipitation from the chilled ethanol. Then after that, we subject it to restriction endonucleases. We subject it to electrophoresis. Then by elution, I pick up my gene of interest. But I have only one copy of gene of interest with me. So first, to give it to many host cells, I should make multiple copies of the gene of interest. So after elution, I will subject it to amplification. What is the process called as polymerase chain reaction? In polymerase chain reaction, we subject the DNA to high temperature, somewhere between 70 to 90 degrees Celsius. At that high temperatures, the two strands of DNA separate. We call this as denaturation. Then in the separated state only, we add primers, because this is replication in vitro. We add primers in the respective specific directions for two strands, RNA primer. Then what do is we employ a polymerase which can withstand that high temperature, which is taken from the thermoacidophile bacteria, Thermus aquaticus. So we take T and AQ and we call it as Taq polymerase, which can withstand the high temperature at which the two strands of DNA are separated. Then I employ one Taq polymerase to one strand of template with a primer. I employ Taq polymerase to another strand. So both of them from the primer would synthesize a complementary DNA strands to both the separated DNA strands. Then I get 2 copies of the DNA, gene of interest. Repeat the process. So we take it in 3 steps: denaturation, that is the separation of 2 strands of gene of interest. Then annealing means joining, attachment of primer to the 2 strands in respective specific direction. And then we employ Taq polymerase for the extension from the primer, a strand complementary to the template. We will give 2 enzymes. Polarity shouldn't be a problem here because it is not an intact DNA. It's only a piece. One that side, one this side will finish their work in their specific direction is fine. Then within an hour, we get not less than 30 cycles only, we get the gene of interest amplified to 1 billion times. So we get many copies. If I have a master copy, I take a Xerox of that, depending upon how many I want to distribute. That is polymerase chain reaction. Then we give the gene of interest to the host cell. You employ a plasmid, synthetic or natural, if the host cell is a prokaryote. Okay. You employ agarobacterium if the host cell is a plant cell which can be infected by that bacteria. You employ retroviruses if the animal cell you chose is sensitive to retrovirus. If you don't have any of these, use heat shock method, gene gun, microinjection, electrophoresis, chemical method, but make the host cell take your gene of interest. Once the host cell picks up your gene of interest, this is known to be transformed. Now we need to multiply the host cell so that the gene of interest will multiply, and we also want the host cell to express the gene. Like if I give gene of interest to E. coli, I want E. coli to express the insulin to me. So the product of the gene of interest in the host cell is called as recombinant protein. And here the host cell is multiplied in a huge sterilized condition where providing it optimum pH, optimum temperature, and also the nutrient medium. So that huge container which multiplies the transformed host cells and the produced protein in them is bioreactor. So you have to study the stirrer type of bioreactor, SPART type of bioreactor, and what are the conditions for it to work. Now I have a huge amount of recombinant protein produced in that multiplied host cell. Then we have to perform downstream processing where I need to purify. So from the cytoplasm, I need to pick up only my protein of interest, which is expressed by my gene of interest. Then purification, separation, and preservation of gene of interest, quality control. And if depend upon whether it is a vaccine, whether it is a therapeutic product like adenosine deaminase, we should do the clinical trials. We should add the preservatives promising for the shelf life. then you have to commercialize it. So all these comes under downstream processing. So this here is where the principles and processes involved with biotechnology. Everybody are fine with the recap? This is the mnemonic for the blotting techniques. Southern blot, DNA. Northern blot, RNA. Western blot, protein. So what do we do in blotting technique? In blotting technique, we perform electrophoresis. After the DNA fragments are separated depending on the charge they carry, from the gel, we transfer the same pattern into an immobile base like nitrocellulose sheath. So this is called as blotting technique. We can blot the DNA, we can blot the RNA, we can blot the protein, so that if we immobilize them, we understand and study them better. That is blotting technique. So that after I treat it with the stain, I can subject it to autoradiography. And once I get the image, I can understand the pattern better. So the question is asking, what is the technique which is not used during Southern blotting? So we definitely do electrophoresis. All the blotting technique starts with electrophoresis only. Then we definitely blot it into an immobile medium. Yes, if I want to understand the pattern, then I subject it to autoradiography, but I don't amplify a gene in Southern blot. So the answer is option D. Option D. Read the following statements and select the correct ones. Electrophoresis is a technique used for separation of substances of different ionic properties. This is right. This is right. The basic technique is based on the size and charge present on it. It will move to the respective electrode. Yes, this is the principle. Plasmids are extrachromosomal, self-replicating, usually circular, double-stranded DNA molecules found naturally in many bacteria. This definition is also correct. It is not advisable to use an exonuclease enzyme while producing a recombinant DNA molecule. This is also a right statement, because if I use exonuclease, what happens if these are the nucleotides in DNA? If I use exonuclease, I will start losing the nucleotides either from 5' or 3'. Then I'm losing the composition. I should never do this. We should always use restriction endonucleases so that I get a complementary ends which will accept and combine with the gene of interest which we shall be introducing between them. So don't use exonuclease in recombinant DNA technology. Yes, this is also a right statement. In EcoR1, the Roman numeral 1 indicates that it was the first enzyme isolated from E. coli RY13. Actually, this is the original strain. Strain of E. coli. Here, 13 don't indicate restriction endonuclease. The strain itself is E. coli RY13. The entire strain name is RY13. From this, the first restriction endonuclease isolated is EcoR1. This is something which I did not teach even when I was doing the theory and the competitive part. Correct? Yes. Even this statement is right. So all four are right. Option D is the answer. Which vector can clone only a small fragment of DNA? So the entire chronology of vectors starts from plasmid. So we have phasmid, we have cosmid, we have bacterial artificial chromosome, yeast artificial chromosome. Correct? This is how the complexity escalates while we take the vector. So the simplest one becomes plasmid, which can take a small piece of DNA. So answer is plasmid because the other three are usually the larger DNA fragment taking plasmids. Then, so when you do this question in competitive part, we have got types of vectors. I mean, I'm saying you what you should read when you answer this question. We have plasmids, bacteriophage, cosmid, bacterial artificial chromosome, yeast artificial chromosome, phasmid, transposons. So all these, there are contexts where the how much size of DNA fragment they can accommodate. Underline the size, like in case of cosmid, we have 45 kilobase pairs in length. Correct? And in case of yeast artificial chromosome, we have 1 megabase pair. So we have all the lengths mentioned. Just read and note down which vector takes what size of DNA fragment. Then such questions are easy to answer. Match the scientists in column 1 with their related discoveries in column 2 and select the correct option. So Kary Mullis is polymerase chain reaction. I don't know whether I taught this or not. Please note down. Polymerase chain reaction. So that is 3. Paul Berg, father of genetic engineering. Father of genetic engineering. Stanley Cohen and Herbert Boyer. Antibiotic resistant gene from plasmid of bacterium Salmonella typhimurium. That's how they came to know that it is carrying it. So 4. Sorry. Hallberg is 1. Sorry, no. Hallberg is 1. This is 4. Arbor, Smith and Nathan. Even when we start reading about restriction endonucleases in competitive part, we start with these 3 only. So that is 2. So 3, 1, 4, 2 is the answer. 3, 1, 4, 2. Option A. The colonies of recombinant bacteria appear white in contrast to blue colonies of non-recombinant bacteria because of, I just told you, correct? So it says that recombinant bacteria containing beta galactosidase. This can never happen because if it is recombined, then it is carrying gene of interest in gene for beta galactosidase, the enzyme. If it is already recombined, then how will it express the enzyme? Because the gene is inactivated. So this is a wrong statement. Insertional inactivation of alpha galactosidase. It says alpha galactosidase. And it also says non-recombinant. So if it is inactivation, we have it to do with the transformed ones or the recombined ones, not non-transformed ones. So this is also wrong. Insertional inactivation of alpha galactosidase in recombinant bacteria. So here you please correct it as beta galactosidase, or let me check. Yes, beta galactosidase. You correct this as beta, then option C is right. Option C is right. Textbook clearly mentions beta galactosidase. Glycosidase is not galactosidase, so this is also a wrong statement. Study the given figure carefully and select the incorrect statements. It represents a typical agarose gel electrophoresis in which lane 1 contains undigested DNA. So lane 1, this one. They did not move towards anode only. That means they are pretty large fragments which are not broken down into pieces. That's right. Smallest DNA bands are formed at A and largest DNA bands are formed at B. So if this is anode, then this is smallest, this is largest, because smallest will go first to the anode. So wherever I see the smallest fragment, that is an anode. This is wrong because it is saying opposite of what happens in electrophoresis. This is a correct statement. This is a wrong statement. Because the question is about incorrect, we take it as option 2 as of now. Then the separated DNA fragments can be visualized after staining in visible light. No, we need UV light. So this is also a wrong statement. Then the separated DNA bands are cut out from agarose gel and extracted from the gel piece. This step is known as elution. So this is a right statement. As the question is asking wrong statement, 2 and 3, option B is the right answer. Electroporation involves promotion of seed germination, induced imbibition of water with electric current. So we don't have anything to do with imbibition here. So this is ruled out. This is ruled out. Making transient pores in cell membrane to facilitate entry of gene constructs. This is right. Purification of saline water with the help of an artificial membrane. So we don't have anything to do with this in the context of the question. Passage of sucrose through sweet pores by electroosmosis. We don't have this one also. So answer is option B. Why do I want a cell to undergo electroporation? So that a transient pore is developed in plasma membrane through which we can give our gene of interest into the cell. Which of the following statements is not correct regarding EcoR1 restriction endonuclease enzyme? It is isolated from E. coli RY13. This is right. Its recognition sequence is GATTC, GATTC. So this is right. It produces complementary blunt ends. This is a wrong statement because it produces complementary sticky ends. It produces complementary sticky. So I get overhanging pieces like this. And we give our gene of interest like this. Correct? Overhanging. They are called as sticky ends. Option C. Which of the following is common in sticky ends and molecular probes? So molecular probes are also meant for complementary pairing. We know this when we did DNA fingerprinting. Then I told you what is a probe. A single stranded synthetic complementary radioactive DNA strand is called as probe. I can also make an RNA strand because when it comes to complementarity, based on that, we can probe using a synthetic one to understand the composition. So what is the similarity between sticky ends and the probe? Naturally, what is the similarity? Complementarity, isn't it? So they both are parts of RNA molecules. I just told you it can be DNA, it can be RNA. They both involve complementary pairing. Yes, this is the answer. They both are important aspects of bacterial conjugation. No. They both are used as gene vectors in genetic engineering. They are not vectors because the context is complementary base pairing between the cut end of DNA and a probe complementary to that. So this also rules down. The most important feature in a plasmid to be used as a vector is the presence of. So we want a ORI site, we want a selectable marker, we want a cloning site where the restriction endonuclease can cut. So all of this is the answer. If you want to recover many copies of target DNA, you will choose a vector with high copy number. Option C. Fill up the blanks and select the correct option. EcoR1, cut the DNA between bases. What is the recognition sequence for EcoR1? GATTC. So it cuts like this. EcoR1, cut the DNA between bases G and A only when the sequence GATTC is present. Only if the specific palindromic recognition sequence is present. Disruption of the cell membranes can be achieved by treating the bacterial cells, plant cells, and fungal cells with enzymes respectively. Direct question, lysozyme, textbook based questions. Lysozyme, if it is a plant cell, cellulase, or if it is a fungal cell, chitinases. Since DNA has a negative charge, this is the third statement, negative charge, it moves towards anode in electrophoretic chamber. So we should see which option will get all these answers in place. For the first statement, GA and GATTC, this is right. Endonuclease, cellulase, chitinase. So it should be lysozyme. So this is a wrong statement. Wrong option. So we have G and A, but it gives only GATC, not GATTC. So this is wrong here. And moreover, it gives positive and cathode. So this is also wrong. Even though lysozyme, cellulase, and chitinase are right. Then option C says G and A, GATTC, right. Lysozyme, cellulase, chitinase, right. Negative anode. So here again it shows cathode. Option C should be the answer. Textbook content as it is given as fill in the blanks. I told you the picture for recombinant DNA technology is a question. See here. This is the reason I quickly brushed textbook, because most of the questions are from textbook. The flow chart given below represents the process of recombinant DNA technology. Identify A, B, C, and D. So here A is restriction endonuclease in the foreign DNA, that is source DNA, from which we take the gene of interest. And this is vector DNA. So the same restriction endonuclease acts here also. For me, A and B are restriction endonuclease. C is joining, so it has to be ligase, DNA ligase. Then we have D as transformation. When the host cell takes the vector with the gene of interest, we call the host cell transformed. So step D is transformation. Correct? So we see A is restriction endonuclease, B is restriction exonuclease. So this is wrong. A has to be the same endonuclease, B has to be the same endonuclease. Ligase transformation. B seems right. Option B. Correct? So here hydrolase is wrong, and here transduction is wrong. Even the hydrolase. Match the following with enzyme and its catalysis. TAD DNA polymerase, stable above 90 degrees Celsius. Correct? So this is 3. Exonuclease, cleaves the ends of linear DNA. 1. Protease, degradation of proteins. 5. Chitinase, breakdown of fungal cell membrane. 2. So 3, 1, 5, 2. 3, 1, 5, 2. Option D. Type 2 restriction enzymes are preferred over type 1 in cleaving DNA strand. So this is your competitive part, which I will discuss. We have 3 types of restriction endonucleases. Textbook says only that restriction endonucleases, but the manual says 3 types of restriction endonucleases. So here type 2 is given. Out of the 3 types, type 2 restriction endonucleases are used in recombinant DNA technology. This is the point. Then we should understand. One second. So type 2 restriction enzymes are preferred. We will read all the 3 types so that you will finish that part of your manual. Type 1, type 2, and type 3. Okay. So type 1 restriction endonucleases, what do they do is they cut the DNA. So when there is a recognition site here in a DNA, they have a recognition site here. They recognize it here, but they will cut the DNA 1000 base pairs downstream. Somewhere about after 1000 base pairs, it cuts. Okay, it recognizes the place to cut, like how the RNA polymerases recognizes the place to start transcription. Recognition site will be somewhere, cutting site will be somewhere else. If it is 2 or 3 nucleotides, it can be managed. But if it cuts somewhere far, then the complementary ends may not match. Apart from that, It requires ATP, magnesium, and S-adenosylmethionine. We call it as SAM. SAM, S-adenosylmethionine. Along with the enzyme, we need these three. Then only type 1 will act. It needs too many conditions and it is not efficient. So we don't use type 1. Type 2, in contrast, wherever is the recognition site, in DNA, either it cuts within or immediately after that. So it is very precisely cutting the DNA where the location is. So it is unlikely that we may have alteration in the quality of transformation, correct? And moreover, it don't use SAM, it don't use ATP. It needs only magnesium. It is very efficient. It don't want many conditions to fulfill. So we use type 2 restriction endonucleases frequently. Then type 3, it also uses ATP. It also uses SAM. It uses magnesium. Conditions are there. And it cuts somewhere about 20 to 30 base pairs from the recognition sequence. So we don't take this also. We use type 2 because of their user-friendly characters. High precision, less demands. Usually restriction endonucleases, I told you this. If they can cut DNA, why the restriction endonucleases don't cut DNA of bacteria itself? They don't have the discrimination. Ayyo, this is bacterial DNA, that is viral DNA. I should attack only viral DNA. I should spare bacterial DNA. No, it understands only the recognition sequence. Wherever it comes across, it just would cut there. So the bacteria, what it will do is it will methylate the sequence and then employ restriction endonuclease. So most of the restriction endonucleases work with SAM. Yes, adenosylmethionine. This is the donor of methyl group. Donor of methyl group. So we have type 2, user friendly. You just go through the content, that should be fine in the manual. Following everybody? I'm saying yes or no. Okay, good. Okay, yeah. I'm parallelly covering the manual content. DNA cannot pass through a cell membrane because it is a hydrophilic molecule. That's why to precipitate it, we have to use an organic solvent, chilled ethanol. Okay, so it is a hydrophilic molecule. Any membrane in a eukaryotic cell will be lipoprotein only. I mean, the phosphobilipid layer only. Which of the following steps are catalyzed by Taq polymerase in a PCR reaction? Where do we employ Taq polymerase after adding primer? Denaturation is the first step. Adding primers to both the separated strands is the second step, which is annealing. Then the third step is employ Taq polymerase for both the strands to get the synthesis done. So we do it in extension of primer end on the template DNA. I mean, direct question from the textbook. A bacterial cell was transformed with a recombinant DNA that was generated using a human gene. So one bacterial host cell took a vector which is carrying a human gene. However, the transformed cells did not produce the desired protein. The reasons could be: when will otherwise transformed cell will not express the desired gene? Or to keep it more clear, even when the gene is in the host cell DNA, In what conditions it will not express? So maybe the gene has introns. It is not a processed gene. Introns. Human gene may have intron which bacteria cannot process. First of all, for a prokaryote, expressing a eukaryote is expensive. Expensive. This is a very direct manipulation of its natural existence in the diversity. Okay, because it has ribosomes, it understands the same genetic code. We are actually, it is like making a first standard child to do 12th standard physics. Only because the alphabets are common, you are making it do that. It is same. It is same. If anything is very minimally wrong with the gene we give, it will not process because it is difficult. Which of the following contains the key tools for recombinant DNA technology? That is the reason why I asked you to follow the textbook. The textbook speaks about these first two options order. Restriction endonucleases, yes. When we speak about tools, immediately it starts with the same. Then vectors and ligases, when we speak about recombinant DNA technology, in the tools only. Then ligases, host organism, polymerase enzyme. All these are by the time the tool side heading is done. So you can ask me, ma'am, Taq polymerase is PCR. Primers is PCR. Primers and bioreactor is expression and PCR. So these are not the tools. They are processes. So textbook side heading is very important. That makes it 1 and 2. Option B. Using recombinant technology, genes from a donor cell can be transplanted into a bacterium for DNA replication and protein synthesis. The kind of cell that can be used as a donor, they are not asking about the host. We can take any cell, isn't it? We take the adenosine deaminase from a functional lymphocyte. Lymphocytes are higher order immunity, they are sophistication. Or I can take insulin from the beta cell of pancreas. Donor cell can be any kind of a cell. Option D. To prevent recirculation of vector DNA and to increase the frequency of production of recombinant DNA technology. I don't know how many of you remember this. We discussed this even in your manual. We come across this enzyme after the restriction endonucleases. I removed a piece from the vector by using a restriction endonuclease. If we leave it like that, the cut ends will fuse again. I will get a small vector, but vector will fuse again. We don't want this to happen. We want that complementary ends produced by cutting with restriction endonuclease to be intact till we introduce our gene of interest. We don't want the two ends to combine. So what do is we remove the phosphate from the 5' end so that it will not form a phosphodiester bond with the 3' end. Okay, fine. So this is done by alkaline phosphatase enzyme. This is done by alkaline phosphatase enzyme. How many fragments will be generated if you digest a linear DNA molecule with a restriction enzyme? So let's draw it. This is a linear DNA molecule having 4 recognition sites. So recognition site 1, recognition site 2, recognition site 3, recognition site 4. So how many pieces will be produced? We get, if it is cut here, here, here and here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Answer is 5. Got it? Yeah. Which of the following statements are correct? Restriction enzymes cut the strand of DNA a little away from the center of the palindrome site, but between the same two locations on opposite strands. This is right. I'll say you with GAT TC. I prime to prime. This is the palindromic sequence. We are not cutting here at the center, isn't it? We have restriction enzymes, which will, if this is the center, which will cut little away from the center, but between the same two locations in opposite strands. If it is cutting between G and A in this strand, it is also cutting between, sorry, it has to be here, G and A on this strand also. On this strand also. So this is a right statement. Hint 2 always cuts DNA molecules at a particular point by recognizing a specific sequence of 6 pairs. What is the recognition sequence for hint 2? 1 second. Yeah, it is a 6 base pairs only. So this is a right statement. Separated DNA fragments cannot be visualized without staining on agarose gel electrophoresis. This is also right. ORI is the sequence responsible for controlling the copy number. This is also right. DNA is a positively charged molecule. This is wrong. So 1, 2, 3, 4 are correct statements. If a person obtains transformants by inserting a recombinant DNA within the coding sequence of enzyme beta-galactosidase, he will separate out recombinants from non-recombinants by which of the following observation? Recombinants don't produce any color. This was the observation, right? So it says non-recombinants don't produce any color. So this is not a right option. Recombinant colonies do not produce any color, whereas non-recombinant colonies give blue color. So this is a right statement. Answer is also B. Recombinants and non-recombinants both produce blue colored. Wrong answer. No colonies are formed due to insertional inactivation. This is also wrong. Which of the following microbes transform normal plant and animal cells to cancerous cells respectively? So Agrobacterium tumefaciens induces tumor in plant cell. Retroviruses induce tumor in animal cell. So we should see for that option. Option C, Agrobacterium tumefaciens in plant cells. They induce tumor, crown gall tumor. Whereas retroviruses will induce tumors in animals. I think we have another question in the same. Option C. Which of the following statements are correct for the enzyme Taq polymerase? It remains active during the high temperature induced denaturation of double-stranded DNA. This seems to be right. It requires primers for carrying the process of polymerization, right? It induces denaturation of double-stranded DNA. No, no, no. It has only the polymerization. The high temperature itself will denaturate. 1 and 2. Here there is no option A given, so you have to write it down there. This is option A. Option A is the answer. Which of the following statements is not correct? Recombinant technologies are used to produce desirable proteins. That's right. Agrobacterium is a genus of bacteria that causes tumors in plants. True. Log phase does not show significant increase in the number of cells, whereas lag phase shows rapid. This is opposite. When you see how bacteria will multiply in a nutrient medium, because we actually multiply bacteria in the cloning of the recombinant cells. So lag phase is slow, where the organism is dormant. It did not pick up the pace of cell division. Whereas log phase is also called as exponential, or logarithm phase is multiplying. This is opposite of the statement given here. So this is a wrong statement. Dolly, a sheep, was the first animal to be cloned. This is right, and option C is the answer. Which of the following is not a cloning vector? So Cosmid PBR 322 page mid. Please read it in the competitive content. SAL1. This is a restriction endonuclease. Streptomyces albus. We have it in PBR 322. I think it is after BAM H1 in clockwise direction. So this is a restriction endonuclease, not a vector. So answer is C. Given figures represents the steps involved in polymerase chain reaction. Identify the steps A, B, C, D. A is denaturation, B is annealing, C is polymerization, D is repetition, because the arrow mark is showing upward direction. So repeat the process should be the D, because we don't have step D in PCR in the textbook. So denaturation, these temperatures are important. We always had confusion in what temperature denaturation occurs, annealing occurs. This is in that way good. So denaturation at 94, this is right. Then annealing, extension, repetition of denaturation, that should be B. Yeah, option B. The term chimeric DNA refers to a recombinant DNA, option C. Match the column 1 with column 2. Recombinant DNA technology. Precipitation of DNA, chilled ethanol, transposons, jumping genes, Ethereum bromide staining, recombinant DNA technology, electrophoresis. 4132. 4132, option A. Which of the following are parts of biotechnology? In vitro fertilization. Yes. Actually, we have a concept called as super baby. What's the time? We have 40 questions. Yeah, that will be done. No issues. Okay. 1 minute. So you have a concept known as synthetic baby or a designer baby. So genetically engineered baby is R&D, research and development. So if I know which gene is responsible for what phenotype, maybe we can give those genes to get that phenotype in the embryonic stage. This is called as designer baby. Designer baby. So before the advent of genetic engineering, designer babies were a fiction kind of thing. But maybe that is possible because in stem cells, we can give our gene of interest permanently. Maybe the gene for intellect, the gene for sports excellence, okay, the gene for mathematics, or something. Whatever gene we want to express, maybe we can give it. We can design a baby. We can design a baby. So in vitro fertilization is a part of biotechnology is my point. Synthesis of recombinant protein, yes. Correcting a defective gene, gene therapy, yes. Developing a DNA vaccine, yes. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, all of them. Read the given statements. PCR technique is helpful in detecting bacterial and viral diseases, even when symptoms of diseases are not yet visible. This is right. Early diagnosis of disease is the advantage of genetic engineering applications in disease decision. Correct? Yes, this is a right statement. Very low concentrations of bacteria or viruses in human body can be detected by amplification of their nucleic acid using PCR technique. Yes, yes, yes. If I see a trace, also amplify and perform the test. If it comes positive, then in long way the person is going to be positive. Correct? So both statements 1 and 2 are correct. Which of the following pair is not correctly matched? Plasmid, small piece of extra chromosomal DNA in bacteria, that's right. Interferon, an enzyme which interfere with DNA replication. There only it went wrong because it was told an enzyme. Correct? Okay. So they belong to a group of the immunological molecule called cytokines because they move between two cells. You would have studied in immunity, interferon between two cells. Option D. 3' to 5' exonucleolytic degradation of DNA is performed by which enzyme? DNA polymerase. If you remember replication, DNA polymerase 1, DNA polymerase 2, DNA polymerase 3. Correct? Yes. All three of them are polymerizing in 5' to 3' direction. Exonuclease, they remove the nucleotide which is laid down wrong. In 3' to 5' exonucleolytic degradation by DNA polymerase stands. Which of the following bonds are formed by the action of DNA ligase? Sugar phosphate bond and phosphodiester bond. That's right. That's right. Both A and B. During gel electrophoresis for the separation of DNA fragment, the smallest fragments will move to the farthest point towards cathode. So cathode is the wrong approach here. So this is not right. Smallest fragment will move to the farthest point towards anode. This is right because we have cathode here and largest to anode here. So the option B. Which of the following has the ability to transform normal cells into cancerous cells in animals? Retroviruses. We just saw a question. For transformation with recombinant DNA, the bacterial cells must first be made competent, which means what do we do in making the host cell competent? We increase efficiency with which DNA enters the bacteria. Which of the following method can be used for making the bacterial cell competent? Divalent cation, yes. Monovalent, no. Heat shock, yes. So A and C is D.